Hey guys, it's Big Mike, and like always, I'd like to thank you for being here today. Today we've got Raymond Day, the CEO of NinjaTrader, and he is here to talk about all things NinjaTrader related. He has confirmed that he will be mentioning at a high level some features of NinjaTrader 8. He does have a brief presentation that he's going to kind of do at the top of the webinar that shows us the main features of NinjaTrader, and then we're going to open things up and try to get questions answered from the members here, as many of them as we can. All right, guys, give me 1 second, and I will be turning things over to Ray. I'd like to remind everybody that all the webinars are always recorded, and I will post the recording for this webinar on BMT sometime tomorrow in the usual spot, which is on any page, click Webinars at the top of the page. Thanks, guys. Here comes Ray.
There we go. Hi, control panel. Okay, excellent. So what I figured I'd go through today is talk about NinjaTrader. I know I've got high-level discussion pasted in here. That's going to be a little bit subjective because some of you might think it's too high level. Some of you might think it's not high level. So my thoughts are I'd go through and talk a little bit about direction of NinjaTrader 8, kind of what we've been doing, some of the things that we've implemented, as well as talk specifically about some of the features that I know some of you, or a lot of you have requested over the years. And I'll follow that up with a brief, I don't know if I would call it a demonstration, but I will, put NinjaTrader live on the screen, or NinjaTrader 8 live on the screen, and just kind of walk through a few things so you guys can get a feel and sense of what it looks like, some of the things that I'm going to talk about here. In addition, I will stop along the way and ask for questions, as I'm sure I know a lot of you will have some in here. What I am going to discuss today is by no way, limited, or what I'm going to say is not the extent of what we're doing at NinjaTrader. I just kind of picked select things I wanted to talk about. And whatever you may see is obviously subject to change, and whatever you may see is not necessarily reflective of the final state of the product as well. So just keep that in mind as we go along. I am going to go to page number 2. It says NinjaTrader 8 Design Goals. The basic idea behind what we're trying to do with NinjaTrader 8 is take all of the improvements based off of the feedback that we get from all of our users, and that's a lot of users and a lot of feedback, and try to distill that down to a set of features and functionality that is commonplace and in demand, and try to implement those in a thoughtful manner. And what I mean by that is, at least from my experience, it's very easy to take every feature that somebody requests and pop that into your product, and you do that over the years, and what happens is you start getting away from the original design intent of the product. You bloat it. It becomes unusable, and the people who originally came to you as customers no longer want to use a product because they feel that you lost your way. So that's what I mean about adding features in a thoughtful manner. We tried to maintain the familiar usability that you're all accustomed to with NinjaTrader, but make it a better experience. And obviously that's more from what you see on the screen, and what you'll see later on as I bring the product up. It's going to be very familiar to everybody here. When it's all said and done, we see that there's going to be, I use the term 500 individual improvements. I think it's actually going to be a lot more than that, but I think that's at least a good starting point. There's a lot of little things and a lot of big things that are going into NinjaTrader 8 to make it a better product for everybody, customers, partners, to use. One of the other things we did as well is modernize it, both in terms of look and feel, and you'll see that as well as bring in new technologies or modern technologies. And I'll talk about that more in detail as I move on through the slides in this presentation. And this is not going to be, this is not a long presentation by any stretch. So I'm going to page 3 now. And at a high level, there's a number of different things that we've done. In the area of performance, every single aspect of the product has been touched in terms of performance. Real-time data processing is more efficient. Historical data processing is more efficient. One specific example there is we currently, when we request historical data from a provider, whether that's Kinetic or a broker, we make requests one at a time. With NinjaTrader 8, we can, if the provider supports it, of course, we'll be able to request as many as they support. So where that might be noticeable, for those of you using Market Analyzer as an example, and if you've got an MA set up with multiple indicator columns, and let's just say you've got the NASDAQ 100 loaded, that would be an area where you would see the concurrent historical data handling load that Market Analyzer a lot quicker than it would with NinjaTrader 7. We have, of course, improved memory utilization across the boards, and I say here core excluding UI. I say that just because down on the bottom here you'll see under technology I referenced WPF, and I'll get to that in a sec, but I just wanted to point out that the memory utilization improvements have been made in the core level. The UI does carry a little bit more because WPF as a technology, and again I'll get into that, carries a higher cost when it comes to memory. The user interface is multi-threaded. What that simply means, and I should put this caveat, NinjaTrader 7 is a multi-threaded application, but what we did with NinjaTrader 8 is made the user interface multi-threaded, which means that you could have multiple windows open, and you could, for example, be running a back test on one window but still using a DOM on the other window. It's not going to lock up the entire application because it's all running on a single thread. And the way NinjaTrader 8 will work is there will be X number of threads for the UI dependent on how many cores you've got on your PC or computer. The database storage has been optimized in a number of different ways, but the short of it is that the database size will not grow as quickly as it does with prior versions of NinjaTrader. The performance in backtesting is quite considerable. I'll speak more specifically on that here in a subsequent slide. System indicators, we have overhauled every single system indicator to be more efficient. A lot of the ideas and suggestions have come from the community as well, so thanks for all of your suggestions there. But to give you an example, I remember this is just at the top of my head, but the CCI indicator as a point of reference is about 3 times as efficient as it was in NinjaTrader 7. So, you know, that adds to the performance in a lot of different areas, whether it be backtesting, whether it's just real-time performance. On the technology side, we're moving away, or have moved away, from WinForms, and this is, again, a kind of a technology-specific thing, but the short of it is we're going to WPF, which stands for Windows Presentation Foundation, and this is the next-generation desktop user interface technology that's promoted by Microsoft. It's been around for a while. I think maybe 6 or so years, but it's just now that a lot of companies are starting to move to that. And so that's something that we've moved to. Microsoft.NET 4.5 framework, at least right now, is what's supported, and so we've moved to that. Moving on to page number 4. NinjaScript support. You know, one of the big value adds of NinjaTrader is the flexibility of the programming environment. You know, as most of you all know, is you can pretty much do whatever you want, but we do have a clear boundary as to what is officially supported, and as a lot of you know as well, a lot of you go outside of the boundaries, which we understand, and it's fine, but we don't guarantee functionality beyond that. We do realize, though, that it is a powerful platform, and we want to do our best to make sure that people do get the most out of it, and that we continue to contribute in that area so that you guys can do bigger, better things. And so with NinjaTrader 8, we're going to expand the realm of what is officially supported and bring more things like, I'll give you an example, chart control. I know a lot of you guys use that, the programmers out there, and so we're going to provide official support for more of that aspect of the product in addition to other things. We're going to introduce new objects. I'm hesitant on providing more clarity there only because I don't want to share too soon exactly what we're going to provide in terms of things that you can tweak and program. At a user interface level, there's a number of things that we've done in NinjaTrader 8. Regionalization is a big thing for us. What that simply means is that we will be able to put NinjaTrader in multiple different languages much easier than we otherwise could have with NinjaTrader 7. I'm not sure at this point in time what additional languages might come out. You know, it probably would be user demand. Most of our outside of the U.S. customers, Germany is a big one, Czech Republic is another big one, Spain, Holland, for example. Those are big foreign locales that we have a lot of support for. Tab support within the Windows environment, and I'll show you guys that in a little bit. But that's something new and powerful in NinjaTrader 8. Skin support. We will have 2 skins that come with NinjaTrader 8. One is light, one is dark. And this will also be programmable as well. So those of you who have experience in XAML, which is a WPF feature, will be able to customize and make NinjaTrader look like you want it to look, within some boundaries, of course. The user interface is streamlined and consistent in NinjaTrader 8, and what I mean by that is, you probably wouldn't notice this, but as we went through the NinjaTrader 7 user interface, there's a lot of areas where terminology, for example, we use one term here and use a different term somewhere else. Different user interface look and feel. You know, we had one look and feel in one area, and then doing kind of the same type of function in a different area might have looked different, so we've kind of made things more common. We're going to have new and improved Forex trading interfaces, and we're also going to support officially CFDs. I know some of you trade options. It's still undetermined. We do have underlying option support, but it's not. We're not sure to what level we may or may not support options at this point in time. Mike, curious, is there a lot of questions that have already popped in?
Not too bad, maybe 5 or 6 questions.
Okay. Now, well, let me stop there because the next section goes into some more feature specific. So I'll just open it up and ask, you know, if there's any questions at a high level that I'd be able to answer.
Okay. I'll take the ones that are up there right now. So let's see. First of all, a lot of comments saying congrats on the success. Good to hear you. Good to see you, etc. Okay. Here's one from Javier. He wants to know if his indicators that he's written for NinjaTrader 7 will work on NinjaTrader 8.
Very good question. Simple answer is that in every single major release of NinjaTrader, there's always been what we call code-breaking changes, some things that just aren't portable. With NinjaTrader 8, that's not going to be any different, which is to say that there will be things that will need to be tweaked. Now, our aim, of course, is not to create a completely different version, so 99% of the syntax is absolutely identical. However, one of the things that we've always done, or our policy has been that we always want to make things better. And sometimes that comes at the expense of breaking something. And so simply put, we have always taken the approach that, okay, we're willing to break something if it's moving it many steps forward. And so my point in that is simply that as we break things, it's done in a thoughtful manner. It's not just like, okay, hey, let's rip and root and change things, and okay, who cares about the users? It's not how we do it. But I do want to set the expectations accordingly that there will be some minor changes that you will have to do in order to port your NinjaTrader 7 indicators over to NinjaTrader 8. And finally, if I could just make this one last point, because this is a big point, our rendering routines in NinjaTrader 7 are WinForm based. As I had mentioned before, we're going to WPF. That's a completely different technology, and therefore anybody who's outside of the boundaries and overriding our plot method and doing some fancy drawing likely will have more work there than somebody who's not.
Right. Okay. Greg asked a question. Can you expand on the interactive brokers features like the advisor or their friends and family accounts, the ability to trade multiple accounts, with interactive brokers, 6 different accounts and different numbers of contracts for each account, but one instrument, etc.
Yeah, good question. Off the top of my head, I personally don't recall what things we've done in the interactive brokers adapter. We did rewrite that for NinjaTrader 8, and I know that supporting multiple accounts or the friends and families was on our list. I just don't know the details of that. But what I am going to say is that what you'll see here in the coming months is that we're going to publish very specific discussions around the new things that we're going to be introducing with NinjaTrader 8. And so those are the kinds of things that we will discuss and disclose exactly what has been done with Interactive Brokers Adapter, for example. I just don't know off the top of my head exactly what we did there.
Right. A couple of questions on the localization. Is this going to be so it's user contributed? Like, is there some kind of a string file people can translate and maybe send back to you?
Yeah, technically I don't know exactly how it works to the extent that there is a resource file. I'm not sure how it's broken down in terms of if there's one per UI or if it's one global one. In addition, we are supporting localization at the NinjaScript level as well. So whether it's a commercial developer or just a general developer, you will have the ability to localize your own stuff as well. So in terms of, hey, Ray, here's a file. I just translated it into Russian for you. Can you take it? I don't know if it's that simple or not. But I will let you know, because if the community wanted to help out, I'm definitely not one to say no.
Right. Okay, great. Let's see, a couple more questions. Just let me know when you want to move on. So Ted asks, I'm going to expand on his question a little bit. Is there any new functionality for exotic bar types like Renkos or brick sizes? Any new features for custom bar types that you've created?
The simple answer is I don't know yet. And when I say yet, it's because we haven't gotten into the actual how bar types are going to be supported outside of NinjaTrader itself. This is part actually on the screen. It says new objects supported under expanded NinjaScript support. It kind of falls under there. So I guess the short answer is this. Let me give you a guiding policy. With NinjaTrader 8, we want to make it more program friendly, meaning we want people to be able to build bigger, better things, which includes custom bar types. You guys do that already. So we want to make that more accessible, officially supported. I just can't speak as to exactly how that's looking at, when it's going to be done.
Right. I see a lot of questions asking about back testing, and I think that you mentioned you're going to get into that later, so I'm going to skip those for now, and then we can ask them again at the end if I'm correct.
That's correct.
Okay. We have a couple of questions about .NET 4.5. Can you expand on that? Is there any, what does that add for the typical user? What does that give them the ability to do?
Yeah, it's a good question, and one, unfortunately, that I can't. I've been out of the programming side of the company for quite some years now. I don't know what's all, new with 4.5 over 4 and 3.5. So I just can't answer the question as to what the language itself provides that we don't provide in what we support today. I know that's kind of a deflection of an answer, but I just don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Joseph and a couple other people say, when will it be out?
Excuse me, give me 1 second. Some water went down the wrong pipe, and that was not in response to the question.
Yeah. I've been there.
Right now, we don't have an ETA that I will publicly state. However, I will say this: 95% of our development time is focused on NinjaTrader 8. NinjaTrader 7, if you guys haven't figured that out already, is it's in maintenance mode. We don't write anything new to NinjaTrader 7 unless there's a fix that needs to be put in, or there's some change, mandatory changes or bug fixes. We will support NinjaTrader 7 for quite some time, years to come. That's not going to change.
Right.
But back to the question, I'll say it this way: it's not, what year are we? 2012. Sorry, it's not 2014 and it's not 2012.
Yeah. Okay. I see a couple other good questions. Again, let me know when you want to move.
I'll take a few more.
Okay, good. So Mike has a question, not me, someone else, that says, can you expand on, are you going to be able to add, or do you support more extensively the different chart types, within one chart? Like if you have, minute bars and tick bars. Right now, if you have those on the same chart, then the spacing, can get a little weird. Is there anything that changed in that regard?
I don't know yet. Only because right now, just to be frank, the charts are still work in progress, and that's one question on the list that we have yet to really flesh out. So I can't, I have a personal opinion on that, but at this point in time, I've got two product managers that have their opinions as well.
Right. Okay.
So I just don't know how that's gonna be fleshed out.
I see several questions talking about the user interface, so I'm going to try to roll this into one big question. So the tabbed interface, we're able to have multiple, I guess you can call them workspaces that show up as tabs, and then like each chart is a tab within that workspace, or can you maybe expand on how that would look? And then as far as the skinning, the user skinning, you said that it's going to ship with like a light and a dark skin. So I guess that there's some file or I mean, what are we using to create our own skins? Is there like a skin editor, or is it some text file, or is it, C#? What is it?
It's XAML, XAML, which, let's just for lack of better, it's C#. It is not going to be for somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. It will be the equivalent of, let's just say, kind of what is called unsupported stuff in NinjaScript right now. You're going to really need to know what you're doing in order to make changes. We're going to try to make it as straightforward as possible, but it's you have to get in there and edit a text file or load it up in Visual Studio and make changes and see what happens. But we will provide the light and dark reference files so you guys can see obviously how it's done.
Right.
I hope you can see that. I just put NinjaTrader 8 up on the screen.
Yeah, I see that.
Okay. So because you asked a question about workspaces and tabs, and basically, as I had mentioned before, and I was actually going to get into this at the end, but since you brought up the question, I figured it easier for me just to put the thing on the screen. The short of it is this. The look and feel is the same as NinjaTrader 7. And what I mean by, I should say the feel and the look to some degree, the way it's constructed, but workspaces for the most part is the same. You've got this, we've got it here, workspaces untitled 1. You can have multiple that you switch between. And let me just pull up a window here. Actually, it popped up on the other window. So here's a time and sales window, and here you can see there's a tab. So if I wanted to add another tab, I could just type in ++ and, I don't know, type in eBay, for example. And here you can see there's a tab. And every single window, whether it's a dome, a time and sales, whatever, strategy analyzer, will have and support multiple tabs per window. And you can, do things with these tabs as you would expect. So if you wanted to, for example, close all the tabs, duplicate the tab in a new tab. Duplicate this in a new tab. So some people have asked, for example, hey, I want to have a clone your chart or copy the chart. You'll be able to do that with tabs by duplicating the chart in a new tab or duplicating it into a new window or moving it to a new window. We're also going to have, or do have, I guess, stuff like add to favorites. So as I click on plus, now what you're going to see here is completely work in progress. It's not going to look like this in the finished product, but here you're going to see some sort of an icon that shows, I want to have a new time and sales with default settings. Then you're going to have all your favorites. It might not make so much sense with time and sales because usually you default them to the same look and feel. But in a chart, for example, you might have 4 or 5 favorites. Here's my ES with these indicators and these colors, and you're going to see tiles or icons that represent, for example, those favorites. So that's the idea behind the tabs. You can move them, as you would expect. No different than any type of standard tab functionality.
Right.
Does that answer? I guess that's,
yeah.
Hopefully answers the question you had.
It looks great, and so this is the first time. This is the debut for NinjaTrader 8. The first time that anyone in public has seen it outside of NinjaTrader, right? That is correct. That is correct. We should all feel honored to see it, yeah. And obviously a radical change, total new UI, ground up code looks like. Yeah, but it is the same usability. I mean, it's your control center. We have changed the menus a little bit, as you can see here. Just made things that people do most often up at the top. So when you connect, for example, I'll click on there. You see your connections here. I'm going to just connect up. Here in the corner, same thing. With NinjaTrader 7, it said, connected, kinetic, or whatever. We've moved that just to a kind of a red light, green light, orange light kind of approach. But if you click on connections, you'll see here what's connected. You can disconnect right from in the menu. You can manage your connections. I'll just pop this up real quick here. I had talked earlier about streamlining the UI. So, for example, in our charts, in our market analyzer, there's always been this concept of what we call a dialog, an object dialog, where available options or objects are on the top left, configured or applied are on the bottom left, and the properties of the selected items show up on the right. So we've done that. Wherever you're kind of working with objects, same thing with the connection manager. So you see, I click on my kinetic connection on the left. You see all of the options here on the right. OK, cancel, apply, and I'll show you a few more of those things after. Okay. I want to. So, like you said, it does. Oh, go ahead, Mike. Sorry, the UI looks great, but there's a couple other really good questions, and before we go too far on the UI, I wanted to kind of throw them at you, and hopefully I don't put you on the spot too bad. Let's talk about NinjaTrader 8 and the ability to bid or just to store bid and ask. This is something that most of the people here in this room are familiar with Gomi's tools that have added the ability to do historical bid and ask to NinjaTrader 7, but it's not as good as it could be because it's not built in. How does that change with NinjaTrader 8? Second bullet on my next slide. So the answer is yes. All right. Simple. Awesome. Can I also ask one more thing? Do this. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. This one's probably not a bullet anywhere. I'll put you on the spot again. There's yesterday there was quite a few posts on the forum about backtesting in particular, and the ability or the desire that some of us have for support for CUDA or OpenCL, basically the ability to use people's video cards, real high-end GPUs in order to do all the number crunching. I'm going to put you on the spot. What are your thoughts on something like that? Yeah, no problem. I don't feel put on the spot
at all. As you know, I'm always candid in my responses. You know, you either like it or you don't, but it's just
Right.
it is what it is.
But
So
we
here's my
always want
response.
more, 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 more.
Here's my response on that. Officially, there's no support for that natively or officially in .NET, and our position has always been to do things that are officially or natively supported. So that's just kind of a, I'll just say kind of a disclaimer. Now to the second point, we did look at that when we re-architected NinjaTrader for NinjaTrader 8, and the short of it is this: that that does help in rendering and heavy floating point math. And in the area of backtesting, as we look to see, you know, what things could we do to improve performance in the area of backtesting, floating point math and just that heavy calculation intensive stuff really we felt was not there just wasn't a lot of it going on in our backtest there, and I'm going to talk about backtesting because I think that once I disclose what I'm going to tell you guys, that your question here is going to be somewhat less, my answer will be more relevant, I guess you could say. So let me circle back to that. The answer is we're not doing anything there because we feel we don't need to, but why that is will become evident on the next slide.
Okay. And
okay.
I see a couple of the questions that might be relevant to the slide you have up right now. The ability to support millisecond time resolution. You know, I think that IQ Feed just kind of like, you know, didn't really formally announce, but hinted that their feed is going to start timestamping in millisecond resolution. And I'm guessing, you know, maybe perhaps Kinetic will get that as well. Is NinjaTrader 8 going to support that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's do this. Let's hold off on the questions and let me roll through some of these feature specifics. So specifically on that, yeah, NinjaTrader 8 will store data down to the ticks level, not to be confused with a market data type of tick. This is, in programming terms, the smallest interval of time that is supported. So there's 10,000 ticks in a millisecond. So the short of it is, whoever supports milliseconds, we will support. But that's a good point that you bring up, Mike, which is historically only one of our providers, which is Zenfire, has supported resolution lower than a second. I think CQG might support it lower than a second now too, or has been. I don't recall exactly all of the different providers, but you know, that's why we were never pressed to support anything lower than that, because nobody supported it. So with NinjaTrader 8, we do support it down to the lowest possible granularity, and so whatever providers choose to support, we will be able to support that. So with Kinetic, if IQ Feed, or that you say when they do support millisecond level timestamping, then yes, Kinetic will support that too. Moving on, you know, you had asked about BidAsk price stored per tick or storage. Simply put, the answer is yes. NinjaTrader 8 stores the bid and the ask price, or you can even just say records it per tick. We will also build that, if available, historically from a provider, meaning if, let's say you request historical tick data, but and the provider does support historical bid and ask data, we will obviously aggregate all that together and store that. Some providers don't support that, in which case you wouldn't be we wouldn't be able to get historical data with bid ask price stored to the tick, so you would only get it as you record it. Tied directly to that, we have at least what we're calling right now tick replay, which is basically there's really two components to this. One is, do you store the data, and number two is, can you we're using the term replay that data, which basically means is that if, let's just say you have, I'm just going to use an indicator as an example, that requires historical calculations or comparisons of the last traded price to the bid ask price, you need to replay that tick by tick in order to run your calculations correctly. And so on a strategy or on an indicator, whether that's in a chart or running in a strategy, for example, there is an option that says, and I can't remember how it looks, but basically tick replay, which would basically turn on the recording and or replay all the ticks so you can run the historical calculations. I think, does that answer your question, Mike, or answer the question around that?
Yeah, I think it does. And you mentioned that only some providers support it, but I think Kinetic will be one of the ones that does, right? As far as the historical BidAsk backfill, like if you load a chart for the first time and it's downloading the tick data, it can also download the bid and ask, right?
I'll answer it this way. Whatever provider supports it, we will support it. I just, off the top of my head, don't recall what the matrix is of who supports what.
Okay.
But if they support it, then yes, we support it. Just kind of rolling through these bullet points here, and again, I just want to say what I've put up here on the presentation is not reflective of this is the only changes in NinjaTrader 8. This is just a handful of 500 plus. Some things are bigger, some things are smaller, but just some things I thought you guys might find relevant. With NinjaTrader 8, you'll have the ability to set your preferences on where real-time and or historical data comes from per instrument type, per connection. Let me be more specific. If you, let's say you want to have all of your futures real-time data coming from provider A, but you want your historical data to come from provider B for your futures, you can define that. And if it's defined, NinjaTrader will get the data from those preferences. If you didn't define those preferences, it'll just revert to its current logic, which is trying to grab it from the first available connection, and if it doesn't support it, it rolls to the next connection. I know some of our competitors do it on a per instrument basis. We looked at doing that, but at the end of the day, when we looked at the demand that we've received from the user community, we felt that doing it at a per instrument type got, let's say, the 90% of what you guys wanted without introducing more bloat. And I mentioned that earlier. One of the things that's really important to me is that we don't just layer features and features and features, and suddenly the product that you guys are used to using suddenly looks very different or is very hard to navigate. And so while there's a lot of features a lot of people are going to be really happy with, I'm sure that at the same time, you can't please everybody, and we're not going to get every single feature somebody requested into the product, either because we didn't get to it or because we chose not to implement it for many reasons that would lead us to that decision. From a bars management, this is like, let's just say the bars on your chart, we've introduced holiday management, which simply means that if, let's just say, there's a half trading day, you can then include that into your session template so that NinjaTrader will exclude that from your chart, so you won't see a physical gap, for example, on your chart. And we've also introduced end-of-day markers that mark the end of a trading day for a session segment. I don't want to get into too many details, but Fat Tails can explain all that to you on your forum. He was a big driver behind that.
Harry's great.
We introduced. Is he around today?
I don't see him today, but man, that guy. Yeah, when you ask him a question, be prepared to read a very, very detailed and thorough response, right?
Exactly. Calculate on bar close is going to change. It's now going to be called calculate, and instead of true or false, you will have calculate on bar close, on each tick, or on price change. So the value of that is, for those of you who like to see the change, let's say, of your indicator calculations on your screen changing is a reflection of the price changing, you can now set it to price change so that it's not going to process on every tick, thereby saving a few CPU cycles here and there, but still getting you the experience that you desire. We also have introduced the option to carry bars across session breaks. So what that simply means is, some of you might know, is when your session ends, we cut the bars off. So in other words, and this is simple to explain with time bars, because if you're using a 5-minute chart and your session ends at 3, well, you're going to have a 3 o'clock bar and that's it. But there's some bars that are time independent, where some of you might want to see the bars carry across between sessions. For example, range bars could be an example of that. Point and figure might be an example of that. So with NinjaTrader 8, you will be able to do that. There are some, at least in my personal opinion, there are some downsides to that. You know, if you're running strategies or back testing, and if you, for example, let's just say you have a chart and you start the chart 10 days ago, and tomorrow you're going to have that same chart, but you now move that range of 10 days up a day. So in other words, you're always going to have 10 days. Well, the downside is if you're carrying bars across your sessions, you're always going to have a different looking chart, because the starting point of the chart, the very first bar of the chart, is now different. So if you always want to have the same looking chart, you always have to anchor the start day down. So in other words, tomorrow you're going to have 11 days in your chart. The next day you're going to have 12 days in your chart. Anyways, just a quick caveat there. And then the other thing that I wanted to highlight is we will, or have, I should say, not will, there already is semi-automatic futures rollover handling. All that simply means is this. With NinjaTrader 7, you've got to go in and manually roll over your futures at rollover time, go through your workspaces and change all of the symbols to the new one. And with NinjaTrader 8, we will give you at any time you can just pull this thing up in this utility window, and it'll show you any futures that are due for rollover and all of the instances of expired instruments, and then you can choose to, let's say, roll over, and all of the instances of this across all workspaces and windows will update automatically for you. So it's just a bit of a convenience feature. And I'll come back to any questions, but let me just kind of continue rolling through this here. Market replay, we've renamed to playback only because the reason it was originally called market replay is because we're replaying the market, and our definition of that was that we're recording every single tick, ask, bid, last, level 1, level 2 event, and replaying that, and so we called it market replay. But we introduced in NinjaTrader 8 the ability to not only do what you can do with NinjaTrader 7, which is replay market recordings, as we're calling it now, but also replay historical data. So for those of you who didn't record something, don't have access to the data you want, but you've got access to historical data, well, we'll now allow you to play back that historical data, keeping in mind, of course, that replaying a market recording is a lot more comprehensive, of course, than historical data, because with historical data, you just don't have all the data. And when I mean historical data, what I mean by that is the data you would see on your chart, the historical tick data you might get from a Kinetic or from your broker or what have you. We also have introduced faster replay speed options for, I think the max speed with NinjaTrader 7, I want to say, is 500, and so we've increased that and provided faster replay options. And we also moved all of the level 1 and level 2 data into a single file. That doesn't really impact a lot of you, but for those of you who it does impact, the issue with NinjaTrader 7 is that level 1, level 2 data were in separate files, and if you were relying on them to be absolutely synchronized in terms of the correct sequence, the only way we could do that when they're in 2 files is by timestamp, and so there might be some resolution or fidelity lost with NinjaTrader 7 if you're wanting to do some sort of analysis on level 1 and level 2 data programmatically. And so we moved that all to a single file with NinjaTrader 8. I'm on to page 6 now. Backtesting. Two main things in backtesting. The whole engine's been rewritten. The first thing is a performance gain. The performance gains in NinjaTrader 8 it really dwarfs NinjaTrader 7. In the reference samples that we use internally for testing, we're down to about 10% of the time in NinjaTrader 8 that it would take to run a backtest in NinjaTrader 7. And this kind of goes back to Mike, the CUDA stuff that you had brought up. And when we looked at where was the the cost in NinjaTrader 8, where could we improve it the most? It was not in the area of math. There just wasn't a lot of math. It was in the area of really memory utilization and how .NET does garbage collection. And so there's a lot of work done there to be able to get the performance. And my belief anyways is that, and I haven't tested this against competitors out there, but my understanding with NinjaTrader 7 is, it's very competitive from a performance standpoint with, kind of the usual suspects that people we compete with. And now, it being 10%, and I should say, when I say 10%, this is not to say that everything is, that faster. For sure, there are reference samples where it's only twice as fast, for example, but 10% is kind of the most optimal reference test that we were able to pull out. Increased accuracy, there's a number of different things there. I'm not going to get into the details of this until I'm ready to disclose it, because I don't want other people to know what we've done there. Apart to say that there's a lot of things that we've done to improve accuracy in a number of different areas. One of the things we've also done is provided the option at a UI level to do higher resolution order fill. So for example, let's just say you're backtesting on 5-minute bars. What you can then do in NinjaTrader 8 through the user interface is, let me just show it to you. It's probably even easier. Give me a sec. Right, so here you go. You can see where my mouse is. Hopefully it says historical fill processing. This is not the backtester, but the same thing you'll see on the backtester. Order fill resolution, so standard is the fastest, but if you wanted to, for example, do a high resolution backtest, you can select high. And now if, let's just say my base bar is 5 minutes, I could say, well, I want all my orders to be backtested on 1-minute bars, or I want it to be backtested on 1-tick bars, for example. You can do this with NinjaTrader 7, but you had to programmatically do this. So all we've done is just make it easier and more convenient for you guys to be able to, or even for the non-programmer to be able to backtest at a higher resolution. Now, keep in mind, we put in, in brackets fastest for a reason. If you're backtesting on 5-minute bars, and we're going to, do the order fill backtesting on the 5-minute bars, well, that's going to be the fastest. The higher the resolution, the slower it gets because you've got more bars to run through. So it's a trade-off. I think on TradeStation, if you, and some of you guys who use TradeStation probably know this better than me, but from my recollection, if you try to do, and I can't even remember the term, but when you have the ability to do a lower or higher resolution, they pop up some disclaimer that says it can take a long time. And we even ran some tests here when you select something like 1 tick, it just brought TradeStation down to its knees. I don't even think it was a practical approach to backtesting, at least on their platform. So going back, to the backtesting. So that's, from a performance standpoint, those are the things we've done at the engine level. There's other things done in the user interface in usability or workflow, but I'm not in a position to disclose that here today. Just moving on, Superdome. I'm pretty brief here, but in terms of what I wrote, but I do want to say this. I know that some of you guys want to see, let's just say volume histograms on the dome. Where trades were at, what the bid depth, ask depth are, more levels. I mean, the more levels, that's a given. We'll give you that. We're going to give you all the other things there as well. However, here's the gotcha. If I introduce the histograms, the problem with that in the existing Superdome is that by adding that, it kind of breaks, and I don't want to get on the details, but the short of it is if I put that in, it breaks the flow and the usability of how the dome is right now. You can't have two of the same thing. The point of that is if I introduce it and say, here you go, everybody, all of the people who could care less about those histograms will get really upset because I've just broken their usability. Point is, I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. We're going to do it, but I don't know if it's going to be, you know, here's your Superdome, and you can have the option to turn these things on, but oh, by the way, if you turn it on, the usability is going to be completely different. Or B, we have the Superdome as is, and I really hate using these kinds of terms, but I'll use it for the point of clarity, but Superdome Classic, for example, and, you know, Superdome, the Superdome, or something like that, that has these things that also have a different order entry and order manipulation and order visualization, because you just can't have what we have now at the same time as having those other things. I've been through this literally for weeks with our user interface designer, trying to figure out how to make it work, and as I try to put these things on, I break things, and I'm not willing to do that because I know there's a lot of you who wouldn't want to see this stuff and wouldn't want us to break the dome or change the usability. So I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, other to say that we will provide it, and at the same time we won't break anything. So that's why I didn't put any more points in the Superdome, but we will satisfy both camps of users, people who want to see some of the new things and people who don't want to see anything change there. And strategies. This is referring to you know, running either an NinjaScript or an ATM strategy. Just a couple of brief bullet points there. On the NinjaScript side, we now can adopt an existing account position. Simply put, if you turn on a strategy and you already have too long of something in your account, your strategy can pick that too long up and run with it, where in contrast with NinjaTrader 7, either we would flatten it or we would leave it as is, and your strategy may not be in the same position as your account. So here's just another way to run a strategy and provide you choice with how you want to deal with existing positions. On the ATM side of things, the discretionary trading side of things, we will support unlimited number of stops and targets. It's not a big demand, but it's the biggest demand of features that people want to see in terms of how we could enhance an ATM strategy. And the last thing with the ATM is we will also support the ability to enable an ATM strategy to protect an existing open position. You can't do that with NinjaTrader 7. And the last bit of bullet points I want to talk about is in the area of NinjaScript. Again, I had talked about support for additional objects. I had also talked about expansion of language support. This is the NinjaScript language support. We're also changing from an efficiency, or pardon me, to an efficiency policy from an ease of use policy. And let me put some color on that. When we introduced NinjaTrader or NinjaScript to the world, you know, this is, I can't remember if it was 05, 06, somewhere back then. For those of you, well, for those of you who weren't around then, there really wasn't much out there in terms of .NET. Everything was pretty much TradeStation easy language, and you know, they use the term easy language because it, you know, it was pretty easy. So when we put NinjaScript out there, our idea was, well, okay, .NET is a hell of a lot more powerful, but it comes at a price that, you know, when compared to TradeStation, you could arguably say it's not as easy. So what we did is we coded the indicators and presented stuff in a manner by where it was as easy to digest as possible, you know, and at the expense of some efficiency, you know, in meaning that we could have coded things a lot more efficiently, but it would have been harder to read. You know, as people pulled up the code, it'd be like, oh my gosh, what the heck is going on here? Coming from easy language, this is just like reading a foreign language to me. Well, fast forward 6, 7, 8 years, you know, we got thousands of people using this thing now. We've got a lot of, you know, community support, specifically, you know, in Big Mike's forum. And I think we're at a point now where we can confidently say, okay, yeah, everybody's kind of gone through the pains of switching from an easy language and getting their head around using C# and .NET. And so now we're going to show our examples from an efficiency standpoint. It might not be as easy to read, but it's going to show best practices as well as how to write code in the most efficient manner as possible, because now we feel we have a community that's going to support us. So when people go, wow, it seems difficult, people will go, well, yeah, but it's worth it, or yeah, but here's why you want to do it that way. So that's just kind of a policy change, and you'll see that with NinjaTrader 8 in terms of what the code will look like in terms of not sample indicators, but system indicators, system columns. This is market analyzer columns, and reference strategies. Moving on, improved and support for Visual Studio integration. So you'll be able to, I guess you can kind of say, plug and play with Visual Studio directly in NinjaTrader. I don't think we officially support, or we have limited official support for Visual Studio integration with NinjaTrader 7. We're going to support user-defined NinjaScript directory structures. So right now, as you guys all know, there's a specific bin custom folder where you find all of your scripts. Now you can go in there and say, my folder, and nest a bunch of folders so you can better organize your work in your files. We've added the exclusion of scripts from compilation. For example, you've got some script and it's not compiling, you don't know why. Most of you guys might just comment out a bunch of code until it compiles. Now you can just go into the NinjaScript editor, right-click on a file and say exclude, and it won't compile. This will also help for those of you who are non-programmers and sometimes run into situations where you are importing either a user-submitted or third-party script, and for whatever reason NinjaTrader rejects the import because you've got errors on your PC in existing NinjaScript files. You'll be able just to go to those files and say exclude and not have to worry about figuring it all out. It'll just be a bit more convenient. The NinjaScript output window, we have 2 tabs actually. It's one of the windows where we don't have as many tabs as you want, but there's basically 2 output tabs, so you can direct print output from your scripts either to tab 1 or tab 2, for example, and you can see them both at the same time in the same window and synchronize the views. So that way, if you're trying to debug, you can have, let's say, a debug output to one tab, another debug output to another tab, and synchronize the view. So when you scroll it down, you can see the timestamps in synchronization with each other, and it just will be pretty useful for those of you who do a lot of heavy debugging. Strategies will support plots and lines. Simply put, a strategy can act like an indicator. That's something that is not supported to the full extent in NinjaTrader 7. And strategies will support access to order and execution collections, and as well you can access the position actually held by the account as well. There's a number of other, like I said, there's a lot more other exposed properties, classes, and things like that. I'm just kind of picking a few out here just to show you a couple of things I think that you guys would want to know about. And that's it. In terms of just kind of a higher level, like I said, some of you guys might think this is high level. Some might think it's a bit pieces of meat on the bone here. Let me shut that down. And why don't we just take some questions here, Mike?
Okay. There's a bunch. There's a whole bunch, like about 150 questions. I will try to get some of the ones that have been asked multiple times out of the way first. So one of the most asked questions is if they buy NinjaTrader 7 today, or if they already have a lifetime license, will they receive NinjaTrader 8 for free?
Yeah, that's a good question, and let me answer it this way. Anybody who owns NinjaTrader 7, any license, whatever that may be, will get NinjaTrader 8 for free. That being said, and let me also say, we have never ever, in any major version, had people pay to upgrade to a version. And I say we've never ever done that. So this in 7 versions of NinjaTrader. That's not to say we wouldn't do it, but we have no plans to do that. I just want to reserve the right to say that at some point in time, if ever somebody, in the company says, hey, we really should do that, and it makes business sense, it could happen. I just don't think it will, because we've never done it, and if it did, it wouldn't affect anybody who's already bought.
Okay, great. I see, I'm jumping around a bit, so apologies. I see a few questions talking about any plans for integration, like with tablets or some type of an app that can monitor or control NinjaTrader.
Yeah, good question. I'll just say it this way. Mobile support is on our list. It's not something that's in our critical path to have done for NinjaTrader production. That's not to say that we wouldn't get something done for NinjaTrader 8. It's one of those things that are expendable, meaning it's something we're going to do, but it's not something I have to have done for NinjaTrader 8, because we do have products out there that do support us in this area, third-party products that do support us in this area already.
Okay.
So anyways, that's the answer to that.
Will the DOM support like 10 levels of depth, for example, on the ES? The CME sends 10 levels of depth. NinjaTrader 7 shows 5 right now. Okay. Yeah. Can you comment on what the database engine is?
Yeah, it's still Microsoft Compact SQL. There's no database technology change, but there's what we're storing and how we're storing it in the database change.
Okay. I'm just running down.
To make it less, just to make it smaller.
Okay. I'm just running down the list here. Can I have more than one copy of NinjaTrader open at the same time on the same PC, or is there a need to do that with all the multi-threading and everything, all the changes?
I guess I don't think there's anything different there than NinjaTrader 7. I believe you can only have one instance of NinjaTrader 7 running on a PC, so I don't see any change there with NinjaTrader 8.
But if I understood correctly, let me ask, can I run like 2 back tests concurrently now with NinjaTrader 8, or is that not going to happen?
Yeah, you could.
Okay. So really, with Ninja 7, you might feel the need to want to have more than one copy, but if the user interface is all multi-threaded with NT8, maybe that lessens the need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's talk about multi-core support. I see a lot of questions talking about that. Can you go into any kind of detail right now of like how, maybe charts are threaded, or how it will take advantage of all the cores in people's computers?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's real simple explanation. Let's just say your computer has 4 cores. That means NinjaTrader has 4 UI threads that it has at its disposal. So as and this is a simple layman's explanation, but as you open up, for example, this time in sales on my right, or pardon me, on my right, but on the screen, let's just say that's on thread A. If I open up another time in sales, let me put it on, that might be on thread B. And so meaning I can go in here and hit properties, for example, on thread A. Now you see all of the windows are grayed out. That's more of an aesthetic thing, but what you would see is on this time and sales window on the left, it's still going to be running and updating and doing things in the background, or as you're working with this screen on the right. So simply put, if you, let's say, opened up 2 more windows, again, this is a layman's explanation. In theory, now I have 1 window per core, because there's 4 threads on my 4-core PC, which is what I've got here on my Dell laptop I'm running. And so if you open a 5th window, well, it's going to obviously be on one of those cores shared with another window.
Right. Would you consider NinjaTrader 8 a rewrite or an evolution?
That's a real good question, and simply put is this: the look and feel and the usability to me is an evolution, because again, I didn't want to. We're not rewriting a new product and saying, hey, NinjaTrader 8 is completely different. We feel that people, like NinjaTrader 8. We, in general, like the usability. We've just enhanced that. The underlying architecture and the code is, a brand new effort. That's not to say every single line of code is brand new. There's a lot of stuff that's borrowed and stolen from NinjaTrader 7 and reworked. So it's kind of like, what do we got from NinjaTrader 7? What can we bring over? What do we need to throw out?
Right.
What do we need to rewrite? But it is, I'll say it in a different way. NinjaTrader 7 is next year will be 10 years old in terms of the, let's say the very first lines of code.
Right.
We anticipate NinjaTrader 7 being supported, I don't know, let's just say 2, 3, 4, I really don't know until people don't use it anymore, but we plan to support it. What I mean by that is if, let's just say CQG or Zenfire comes up with an update that we have to consume, we will update NinjaTrader 7 for that for the years to come. So by the time NinjaTrader 7, let's just say shelf life is dead, maybe that's, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years in the making.
Right.
So NinjaTrader 8 is the next 10, 12, 14 years.
Right.
And so point being is, it's a ground-up project to be able to take us to 2020 and beyond.
Gotcha. I see a lot of people asking questions about volume profile, market profile, footprint, volume ladder, etc. And I know that there are third-party tools to do all this with NinjaTrader 7. Are you going to add any additional support in NinjaTrader 8 for these out of the box?
I don't have an answer to that yet, just because I don't know.
Okay.
But you bring up a good point. As much as we would like to provide as many tools as possible, at the same time, as all of you know, we also do rely on our partners to provide products to enhance the overall platform. And somewhere, of course, there's a line, right, that you draw that says this is what we will provide and this is what we won't, because we don't want to cut into our partners, which we rely on for our
Right.
livelihood as well.
Sure.
And so I don't have an answer to you on that at this point in time. Just don't know.
Here's a good question that I'd like to know the answer to as well. Do you have an easy ability to turn indicators on and off on a chart, as well as the ability to reorder them?
Yeah, that's a good question. Reorder as in the object ordering in terms of the visualization stack?
I don't know if he's talking about Z order or just like moving them up and down in the actual window list, like if you want to group them together.
Right. Okay. Good
But the big one is probably just turning it on and off, because I've had to do that so many times. Yeah.
The answer on the what I call visibility, just turning it on and off. Yeah, that's going to be supported in NinjaTrader 8.
Okay. A couple people asking if you can show us the light skin.
Sure, absolutely. Well, let me do this. And again, I know that you're going to be able to watch videos and freeze and take a look at, hey, they put this feature in. Again, I just want to put this disclaimer out there that whatever you see in terms of how menus are arranged, for sure is not a reflection of what the final product's going to look like, or what you see or what you might not see. Again, is not reflection. So don't use this as gospel. But let me just go down Tools Options. Again, I'll just point out, I talked about consistency. Here's a kind of an object dialog, and we've got, the different categories on the left, options on the right. If I click on General here, here we've got skin. I've got dark selected. Let me click on light. I'm going to hit OK. I do have to restart NinjaTrader here, so let me do that. And give me a sec to go over and restart this guy. And I'll also say as well, the light, dark skin, again, I mean, I think we're pretty comfortable. This is, we're like 95% of what it's going to look like, but we can easily change the colors. That's the thing about skins. I can go into the skin files and say, okay, I want this gray to be, maybe it's 25% of black. For some of you guys might know what I mean by that. Maybe we want to make it lighter and make it 20% of black.
Right.
It takes a split second to do that. So, anyways, here's the light skin.
I can only imagine. I guess users will be able to create skins and then like share them in some kind of method where they can be imported, similar to sharing indicators today.
That's the idea. We haven't incorporated the skins and the import, and what's going to be made available in the skins is yet to be determined, because basically we have our own skin files, and then determining what we, let's just say, make public is still up for debate. I guess I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
So, because it could, you know, we could go kind of crazy and allow people to, for example, you know, here are the minimize, maximize buttons, for example. You know, we could give you full control over changing that. You know, the tabs. You know, making completely your own tab appearance, for example. It can get that granular, but you know,
right.
It's not sure how we're going to do that yet, to what level. But I could probably imagine it'll probably evolve over time. You know what I mean? Well, we'll give you this much, and as we see how people are using it, we'll expand.
Right.
So light skin, as you can see, let me just pull up. Actually, let me pull up the properties window here. So you know, you can see it's kind of a grayish kind of. You know, it's called light, but it's kind of a gray monotone thing. Let me just pull while I'm in this properties window. Some of you might remember, you know, in NinjaTrader 7 on any property windows we had the, you know, I can't remember what it said. OK, set default, stuff like that. You know, we've moved. We have an OK, cancel, apply, and we have this preset here. If you click on that, this is kind of your save default. So if you want to, you know, you've made a bunch of changes and this is what you want as default, you just click save. Or if you want to go to factory defaults, you just click restore, for example. You know, the property grid, a little bit different looking, but it's nothing different than what you're used to. You know, I guess it's pretty self-explanatory there. Oh, just one thing. I don't know how many people here use time and sales, but since I've got that window open, we do. Let me just cancel out, and the market's not open. I guess I could switch to ES here. Let me do that. I guess I was hoping that a few more prints will come in, but one difference with the time and sales is that all of the history, you could set it right now, I think default is 100 items, so you're going to see a scroll bar pop in here once there's more items on the screen, and it'll save, you know, as many items or rows as you specify in your property, so you can scroll back into history. You know, we didn't allow that with NinjaTrader 7 time and sales, but we do that with the NinjaTrader 8.
I see.
Go ahead, Mike.
I see several questions from people asking about the process of betas. You know, if you can comment on the betas, and as well as people asking about the process of upgrading their code and what kind of documentation, if you have any type of upgrade assistance, maybe I would call it, documentation available for the changes between NT7 and NT8. Can you comment on any of those things?
Yeah, absolutely. Documentation, as always, I think that we provide a pretty comprehensive set of documentation, so no different going from 7 to 8. We will provide a, you know, code breaking changes document, plus any supporting documentation on just I guess you can say behavioral changes that some might see. So we will provide, like I say, as much assistance as possible. You know, our job, the more upfront work we do to provide you guys guidance, less back-end support we have to do, which minimizes our costs. So at the end of the day, we're going to provide as much support up front so that you guys have as seamless of a transition as possible. That was on the documentation. I apologize, Mike. What was in the forefront of that? Was it something to do with installation?
It was like the beta release cycle.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. So, you know, just like always, we're going to have a public beta release. What we're going to do with NinjaTrader 8 though is we are going to bring in I don't even know what we're going to call it, but let's just call it the alpha release. Just you know, the private you know, bring in, you know, 20, 30 power users, maybe even 40, you know, up front, and have them kind of whack at it before we put it out in public. But we've always been pretty forthcoming and public about our public betas. You know, we let everybody use it, so I don't see anything different there.
There are so many questions, guys, that I'm having to skip some. My apologies, but do you have any plans for some type of like an automatic update, like Firefox or Chrome? They have like it just tells you, hey, there's a new version, and then it updates. I see somebody asking that.
No, I guess the answer is not at this time. I'm not saying that we won't. It's not been discussed.
Sure. Like I said, we always want more features, right? I'm going to put you on the spot once again. Can we see some indicator code? Like, can you show us the CCI that you talked about?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
It's like candy for us.
So I just pulled up the NinjaScript editor, and again, these big red black boxes are just placeholders where graphics are going to go that will show a new indicator. It's probably going to be centered in the screen. So when you click on a new tab to create a new script, you're going to see new indicator, new strategy, new column, and other objects that you'll be able to work with. So again, it's not going to look like this. But here on the right-hand side, and I should also say all the toolbars on the top, these are all default icons that come with the editor technology that we use. That's all going to look different. But what you see here on the right, this is your file. We call it NinjaScript Explorer. You can pin it. You can, unpin it, and as you hover over it, it pops back up. And so let me just pin it here. So if I open up, and these icons again will all look different as well, because you're going to see different icons, ones that show excluded from compilation. So CCI you asked me for. So I'm just right-clicking. You can open it in a new editor, exclude from compilation, rename it, create new folders. I had talked about user-defined folders and things like that. Let me actually expand this so you can see more of the code. So anyways, here's the CCI indicator. You can compare that code to the NT7 code. I don't have that handy to pop up in there, but here here's a code breaking change for you. In NT7, we've got initialize, on, startup, and things like that. And we've changed that and have gone to a new thing called on-state change, which is just basically the different states, or you can call it the life cycle of a script. And there's a number of different states. Not all of them are shown. We've only got the set default state. So this would be the state where you would code your defaults, which is basically what, let's say, a user interface would pull up from. So when you pull up a chart indicator dialog, these are the properties, for example, you're going to see, and this is where you would set it. I think the next state would be configure, and it's all defined as to when these states are called and when to use them. And then a state historical, there was a state, disconnect, and not disconnect, pardon me, like a tear down, for example. So it's just an easier place. So what you would have an initialize, for example, you would cut and paste and probably put it all under here, for example. That's what I mean by there's some code breaking changes, but we're sensitive to doing that. But at the same time, we think that this makes the overall architecture better.
And I see tabs once again. So one editor window with multiple tabs, I assume.
Yeah, correct. Cool. So you can, there I just open up balance of power.
Right.
So now I can swap back and forth. The editor, there's some new editor capabilities from the third-party editor that we use. Won't get into all that stuff, but just a couple of other things here. I talked about regionalization, so description and name, for example. Here you can see we're pulling from a resource file, which is where all of the resources come from for regionalization or localization.
Right.
Here's a new one for you, is suspended while invisible. So for example, this is a performance tweak. Let's say you have a chart, and that chart is just minimized to the background, or even you have another window over top of it so you can't see the chart. By default, this property is suspended while invisible is set to true, which basically means that if the indicator is not visible, it's not going to be running, on-bar update is not going to be called. It's just not going to be running because why bother? Save the CPU cycles. and as soon as it becomes visible, well, it's just going to catch up from the last point in time that it was calculating. And let's say it missed 20 bars, it'll catch up and run those 20 bars in a millisecond, and away you go. So it just conserves CPU cycles here and there.
Right.
The reason why it's an option is because some of you might have indicators where it needs to calculate. You know what I mean? It needs to continue running to run its calculations for whatever reason.
Right.
And so you want to have that set to false, as an example.
Here's a popular question. Right now, whenever you're naming a NinjaTrader 7 indicator or strategy, you can only use alpha characters. Mm-hmm. Is there any change so that you could actually, like on the list to the right, like the display name, for lack of a better descriptor, could contain spaces or dashes or underscores?
There is, and don't hold me to this because I can't remember where the changes were that we made in this area, and meaning I don't know at what point in time they kick in. But there are some changes around that area, and I can't remember if it's going to show up here in this list, because I can't remember if these are file names or if they're display names. So, for example, if you look back here where my mouse is, you'll see description and name. Basically, the short of it is you can have a class name called CCI, but you can have the display name, not the display name on your chart, but the display name, for example, in your indicator list.
In the list, right.
As something different than the class name.
Right.
And I believe, so the answer is you can kind of have more flexibility there. I just don't know in the NinjaScript file list here on the right if this is a display name just like the indicator list on your chart, for example. I think it is, but I just don't want to say things that I don't know are true or false.
I see a couple of questions about the DOM. Is there any capability to resize the DOM to adjust row height? I see somebody else. Well, there's so many questions, guys. I can only see so many on the screen. But you mentioned that you're going to have like a volume profile or histogram capability. Are there any other changes? I think one of the questions was, can we manage orders that are not that are working? Like, can you move stops and targets for a working order that's not actually been executed yet? Any other changes you can comment on?
I see. Okay, got it. I don't know that yet. We haven't implemented the DOM other than some prototypes for performance reasons, and that's more, like, for example, I can show it to you, but this is, we've got this DOM here, and I guess your question, one of the questions was, row heights, and I can't even, there we go. No, I guess this is not a DOM for the purposes of what it's going to look like. This is just a rendering exercise for prototypes, just to see, since we're working in WPF, to see how we're going to do it. But the short answer is the intention was that the DOM is going to be resizable and everything is going to be dynamic, meaning row sizes and column widths and things like that.
Right.
We just haven't implemented, so I can't say yes to it because we just haven't done it yet, but the intent is that that is the case. And I should say it this way as well. With NinjaTrader 8 and WPF and regionalization, the whole point of regionalization is that, for example, let's just say the C button, okay, that's supposed to be the close button, right? Oh no, that's the center button, pardon me, but let's say the close button. So maybe in some other language, close is twice as long, right? Well, the point of it is that you need to be able to have the UIs dynamically react so that the button grows in size to accommodate that word in a different language. Obviously, it might look not as desirable as let's just say the language that we're designing it in, which is English, right? But the point I'm making is that it becomes dynamic, the UI becomes dynamic, and as that grows, other things get pushed around and kind of grow in size. And so my point is simply that the intent is, yes, that these things are, columns and rows are all going to be dynamically sizable, in part because we have to have that capability in due to regionalization for the reason I just provided.
Right. Will there be a 32 and 64-bit version, or is it only 64?
No, it's 32 and 64.
Okay. I see a lot of people that are saying that the last few minutes are over their heads. I know that with the programmers among us, are eating this stuff up. I think that it's important to remember that I think at least one of the massive strengths of NinjaTrader is the community that rallies behind all the custom indicators and custom tools that you can create and then share. So I know that a lot of you people aren't programmers and you just want to go click on the link and download it and it's on your screen. But for the rest of us, we like seeing this stuff. Okay,
That's a good point.
Yeah, so I see a lot of questions about ChartTrader. I see questions about ability for Market Replay to replay multiple instruments simultaneously. I see more people asking about the release date. Let's see. Data, will your NinjaTrader 7 data, like maybe tick data or whatnot, be imported into NinjaTrader 8?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Let's see. Frank wants to know how big of a company NinjaTrader is, number of people, etc.
Yeah, we're actually literally right on the dot. We've got 40 people in the company, of which 75% are based in Denver, Colorado. I guess hopefully we don't disclose revenues. We're a private company, but we've been profitable since day one. We don't owe anybody any money, and employees are all happy to be here, and I'm happy to be here, and I have fun. I have fun doing what I do, and I'd like to get up every morning and get to the office.
Right. I see a lot of people commenting on Windows 8. Mostly negative. I guess the reception for Windows 8 has not been all that great so far. Any comments on, I assume that NinjaTrader 8 will run on Windows 7 just fine.
Yeah, I'm running it on Windows 7 now, so
right.
we don't, well, I guess we've got one Windows 8 machine here just to make sure that NinjaTrader 7 was running, as well as provide any support for it. I just got a new PC that is getting configured, and I had them put NinjaTrader 7 on it, or pardon me, NinjaTrader 7, Windows 7 on it as well. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of Windows 8 as well, but at the end of the day, it's Windows.
Right. So. See a question. Lots of questions about the charts. I don't know if you can show us anything. A couple questions, or one question says, do you support mosaic charts? I don't know what that means. Maybe you do.
Unfortunately, I don't know what that is.
Okay.
And just to be blank, or kind of a blanket response, yeah, I don't have any thing to show you guys on charts, nor am I really in a position to discuss anything in charts in detail.
I figured. I mean, you've shown us a lot, so I think a lot more than most of us were expecting, so I really appreciate that. Speaking of which, a whole lot of comments thanking you for everything that you have shown. Some more questions on the release date. I think that you had hinted that 2013 is a pretty good year.
Yeah, I said not this year and not 2014, which right. I guess either at least 2015 or later, which definitely is not the case. But yeah, the target, we're it's hard to put a percentage. I'll say it this way, from a line item standpoint, we're 80% of the way there. But the last 20%, of course, always takes up. It's just one of those 80-20 rules. There's still a lot of stuff left to do, but 95% of our efforts are focused on NinjaTrader 8 development. We are anticipating, being able to bring you guys public access, next year. I can't put anything more definitive on that, but right. I can say that, we will start disseminating a lot more specific dialogue on features as we roll out, and I just want to make a comment on that. If this was 4 years ago, I would be more forthcoming in talking even more specifically about things. But in the last couple of years, there's been quite a few products out there big and small, competitor-wise, that have verbatim copied us in our Dome, our chart trader, a number of other areas, and I just am pretty paranoid about releasing information that would be used to my detriment. So anyways,
Sure.
that's the truth of it.
I understand. And there's a thread on BMT. I think it's titled something like NinjaTrader 8 wish list. I guess you probably browse through that thread every now and then, so you have an idea of what people are wanting or wishing for. Is there any other kind of way? I see a lot of people that have comments today. What's the best way for them to share those comments with you?
Either by sending it to support@ninjatrader.com. Actually, honestly, that's the best way to do it. I do monitor that thread. Just so you guys know, I monitor the forum daily, and I get involved when I believe I can make a quick and easy difference, and add value. And my product managers monitor as well. And so everything is heard. We've got a lot of line items in terms, I think there's like 15, 16, and I could be completely off, but somewhere north of that, items of requested features. And that's not including, because we also put count values on them. So this has been requested 10 times, 20 times, and so sending them through to support, make sure that the voice is heard, because if it's not on the list, we add it. If it's on the list, we increase the count.
Right.
And we use that as a guide to know what people are really asking for, and how that could be woven in, and if it makes sense. And there obviously there's some discretion going in, and if we feel that it doesn't make sense, if it architecturally doesn't work, or if it's just not in demand, maybe it doesn't make it. Maybe there's a stuff that isn't in demand, but we feel that in the future people might be requesting more of that we put in. So either way, we take your input and use that to help guide how the product looks.
Okay. So maybe in closing, since we're coming up here on an hour and a half, I want to talk about why NinjaTrader 8. Why not NinjaTrader 7.1? What led you to decide that now was the time that you want to, I keep using the word rewrite, but you know what I mean. Major update for the code base. What does the future hold? NinjaTrader 8.1, 8.2, as far as more incremental releases. Why you chose now for this really enormous release, and why it was necessary. I'm cramming a lot of questions into one. And where are you at today as far as freezing features, locking it down, and only implementing what you've already decided to implement versus still considering new features and so forth?
Okay, let me see if I can break that down, Mike. I guess the first question, there's really, I don't want to say never a right time. At the end of the day, NinjaTrader 7, the decision was, okay, it's again, almost 10 years old, or it'll be 10 years old next year. And do you continue to invest time in, a house that's kind of already built to its capacity, and hang more shingles on it? Or do you say, okay, now is the time to break from that and put all your efforts into the next generation technology? And we just felt that the NinjaTrader 7 house, we took it as far as it was going to go with any reasonable amount of effort. And so because of that, we thought, okay, there's WPF, there's some things that we really wanted to do that we felt would be much more efficiently done by doing it in a next generation product. With the understanding, knowing that, well, this is going to be a big project, and it's going to result in not a lot of features coming into NinjaTrader 7, and some time gap between NinjaTrader 7 and the time of NinjaTrader 8 where it would be perceived that we're not doing anything, which couldn't be further from the truth. So at some point in time, you got to make that jump, and we just figured, okay, it's it just makes sense to do it now. Now going forward, you said NinjaTrader 8.1, 8.2, or let's just call them incremental releases. Our expectations are that once NinjaTrader 8 is out, you will see incremental releases with thoughtful features put into the product, at a pace that would be competitive with the industry. And the only reason we haven't done that between 7 and 8 again is because it was just a decision. Do you focus the efforts on NinjaTrader 8, or do you do a little bit of NinjaTrader 8 but kind of do a little bit of NinjaTrader 7 to give people the impression that there's still something going? And we thought it's just not how we want to roll, because we'd rather put all of the effort on our next generation platform, again at the expense that people might see that there's nothing going on, when in fact that's not the case. And anyways, so it's a fine balancing act, and we're we're here now, and like I said, I call this high level, and some of you might think it's high level. Some of you think, hey, wow, okay, there's you kind of opened up the hood and showed us a little bit more, and we'll show you more as time goes on, and by the time this thing rolls out, I think that everybody will be pretty happy and comfortable that we did the right things by you, and have a better product for it.
I think that you showed a great deal of detail, and I really appreciate it. I learned a lot. I'm sure a lot of people are going to watch this recording several times to try to pick up all the extra info. And so I guess we obviously you don't want to commit to a firm release date, but I guess it's safe to say that we'll be hearing more about NinjaTrader 8 in the coming months.
Exactly.
All right, guys. So, Ray, I really appreciate your time today. I really appreciate you debuting NinjaTrader 8 for the first time on BMT and taking the time to answer everybody's questions, over 200 questions. I know that a lot of you guys did not get your question answered, and I apologize. There's a thread on BMT for this webinar. You can do a search for it. You can ask your question there, or you can email support@ninjatrader.com, and I'm sure they'll try to get your answer where they can.
And if I could ask you guys, and I know this is hard, but I would ask you if you could, really refrain from firing in, hundreds of questions on NinjaTrader 8. My support guys will not be able to answer those questions, and if I got to deflect product management to that, it just takes away from getting, NinjaTrader 8 done and out the door. So, I really, this is the kind of the balancing act. I wanted to share with you guys, what we're doing, but at the same time, if you could, please refrain, because we will release more specific information and engage you guys with dialogue here in the coming months, where we'll actually sit down and talk to you guys in an open forum about more of the specifics.
Right. Okay. So sounds like use the BMT thread as much as possible, and then those of us that have watched the entire webinar at least once will probably be able to answer a lot of those questions, because I think that you covered a very wide range of topics and gave a lot of answers already. So I know a lot of questions that were asked have already actually been answered.
Right. I appreciate it, Mike, and thank you for having me, and thanks to all the people on the webinar, and of course everybody who's going to listen to this on the recording. Thanks for your support. Have a happy holiday season in a great new year.
Thanks, Ray. You as well. And I'll see everybody on the forum. I'll post the recording for this sometime tomorrow. Thanks, guys.
Great.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you. Bye.